Would you hear the tale of the dark dawn in Ohio? Would you hear of the ghosts that mourn along the river? Would you hear of the 17 young men standing silent on the riverbank? In 1770, a white man arrives in the untamed wilderness in a place called Ohio. He comes from a place called Germany. He brings his idea of Christianity to the friendly Lenape Delaware living along the river. The missionary knows of the deluge ahead and hopes to save these people by teaching them to conform to the white man's ways. How to build a house with a door that locks and windows that bolt. And above all, how to pray on their knees and give thanks to Jesus. The missionary has the Lenape give up hunting, bank their canoes, and build a farming village beside the river. He calls the place Gunnatenhoden, which you may translate as homes filled with God's grace. Meanwhile, it seems the Americans are fighting a war with their brothers. They beg for the Lenape's help, and so Chief White Eyes of the Lenape Delaware makes an alliance with the Americans on a piece of paper called the Treaty of Fort Pitt. The chief promises to stand with the American revolutionaries in return for all of the Ohio lands being set aside for native peoples as long as her great rivers flow. The promise is made. The treaty is signed. And the war raged on. The floodgate of violence was swung open and blood flowed. Atrocities, murder, torture, burnings, all along the frontier. Some tribes take one side, some the other. Most just try to stay out of it. But to the white men, the natives all look the same. And then, on a cold March evening, after an attack on some settlers by natives unknown, 100 young white men arrive at the settlement. They're members of the militia. The friendly Christian Lenape greet the strangers. The strangers, smiling, ask for their guns. In friendship, they are handed over. The villagers are led into their Christian chapel among their homes filled with God's grace. But what to do with their prisoners? The militia is here on a search and destroy mission. They want blood. They want scalps. They want revenge. The militia commander takes a vote among his American volunteers. 83 vote to do just what they came for. 17 voted against. 17 young men who said no. After an argument, the militia commander allows the villagers to spend the night singing Christian hymns among their homes filled with God's grace. At dawn, 83 Americans went to work, tying up the Lenape, taking turns to swing a heavy wooden mallet, finishing off their deed with their knives and hatchets, not stopping until 28 men, 29 women, and 39 young children lay dead in a bloody pile on the chapel floor. Then their bodies were burned, and then, after looting the village, their homes were burnt, homes filled with God's grace. And all the while, the 17 stood down by the cedar canoes, 17 down by the riverside, 17 listened all morning long, 17 on the riverbank. Hearing of the crime, George Washington advised the militia not to ever let themselves be captured by the natives, who, unlike his newly formed government, would seek justice. is the tale of the dark dawn in Ohio, and of the ghosts that mourn along the river, and the 17 young men standing silent on the riverbank.